other parents later, so it's available. So I'm going to head at this point. This is the um, the goal for today is basically just to have a Q&A in terms of um, asking questions about middle school to take pressure off of when you're meeting with your child's teacher, to take pressure off of the time during parent conferences. We want to be able to kind of maybe try answer some questions now so that then when you do meet with them, you can talk more on progress, student progress, and how your child's doing. And of course, if there's still follow-up questions about middle school, that's great. Our current fifth grade team is doing a great job, but also, as a previous fifth grade magnet teacher for 10 years, I have a little more knowledge of some of the middle school programs. And so that's why I offered to host this session. And so hopefully it is helpful for all of you. Um, so we will have opportunity, like I said, you'll be able to unmute yourself to ask a question. You can put your question into the chat. But basically kind of want to use this time for just a question and answer. Now I did print out some questions from the Google form. So I'm going to start with that. Actually, before I do, if you didn't know, my name's Zach Earl, and I'm the magnet coordinator and instructional coach at Wonderland. And if I can ask my lovely or the lovely fifth grade team, can you guys introduce yourselves really quickly? Who wants to go first? All right.
Hello, everybody. My name is Wes Diamond. I teach fifth grade homeschool at Wonderland.
Hi, I'm Jody Jones, fifth grade magnet, math and science.
Kelly Smith, fifth grade magnet. I teach ELA and social studies.
Excellent. Based on the Google form, the majority of you are magnet parents. But you're familiar with both of those, but that is, so if any of the questions seemed a little skewed towards some schools or other, just know that that's kind of what we have. We have a larger group of you that are coming from the magnet. Some of the questions, I know that one of the ones that was on here often was about the test. And regarding IHP, Walter Reed's IHP program and the Science Academy, historically have had a test that you have to pass in order to get in. IHP, I actually have not heard yet from the IHP, and I don't know if either of the teachers have, but I know with the Science Academy, they have put out information that the child has to meet the following criteria if they've already been verified gifted, meaning they've been tested gifted and they have that status. They need to have a report card from the end of fourth grade. They need to have the report card from the beginning. This current one that's coming out on November 13th. They want your third grade SBAC scores, okay? Because we didn't have one from last year. And if you don't qualify with that information, then you have to take their admission test, and that admission test is going to be on Saturday, January 16th at 9 o'clock in the morning. And then apparently there's also going to be an interview after that. So the Science Academy has put out that information about how they're going to do their test. IHP has not, as far as I know. Some questions, how do we prepare for that? Honestly, the goal of these schools is not for you to prepare for it like an SAT or a big test. They want to know what the child already knows. That being said, the Science Academy test is not just a science test. It's overall, it covers, they're going to be doing writing as well as other math and science. So kind of, reviewing a lot of things. I know on the science part of the test, they do have material from third and fourth grade science, but they also want to see how much your child knows. So they have sixth and seventh possibly even 8th grade level stuff on there as well, because they're trying to see the scores. So, we've had students who have taken that test and felt really badly because they got some of it, but they didn't get a lot of it. Like they didn't know how to answer it or didn't feel good about it. And those students sometimes still scored well enough to pass. So it just depends on the question. That, they of course don't want the schools. They don't tell schools, oh, this is the content. This is what you need to study. This is your topics. This is information. They don't necessarily they want to see what the child already knows as authentically as possible, and not just to have you try to study for one test to try to get in. So they don't give a lot of information out about that, unfortunately. And I know even like on IHP tests, they have students like sign that they won't tell the teachers or anybody about the test, like non-disclosure agreements, because they don't want that information out, because they're trying to manage it and keep it. Again, the goal is to authentically determine who's going to be best for their program. So that's also why this year, because they're testing virtually, they can't prevent, people from having a separate screen or having other ways where they might be cheating. That's why they're having this other criteria, as well as they're also having that additional interview. And that interview, they will also be asking questions, academic questions. It's not like just a personal question. It's also, what does the child know when you're talking to them? So that's kind of what we're getting from those two programs. Some other questions. Is testing, so a question in the chat, is testing gifted equivalent to being approved to apply to Wonderland's magnet? It depends. If your child has already been tested gifted and has a gifted status of high achieving or intellectual or highly gifted, applicable or highly gifted, then yes, check that off. That is one benefit of having your child tested as gifted, is that then stays with them. If your child has not been tested gifted, but has simply been verified to apply to a gifted magnet, that verification has to happen every year. So then, no, it doesn't, it's not the same. Okay. I hope that answers your question. Let's see, what kind of test do they take? What should we prepare? Okay, that was about IHP and Science Academy. I hope that answered. Next question is about report cards. And oddly enough, your previous report cards, I believe, are available on the parent portal site. So I would recommend you go there first. I believe you can get your own report cards there. I know that the school and Mr. Diamond was just making some copies the other day of previous report cards. So the school also has copies of that, but you can, I believe, access it yourself. Now, the upcoming report card is another question that we've been told that the district is going to mail out the report cards that are coming out on November 13th. But that's what they did before, and people didn't get them till July or later. And that's problematic for you guys who are trying to get to it for middle schools and who are wanting to get that information a lot more quickly. Right now, I don't have anything more on that from the district. So I know the middle schools themselves are going to hopefully are pressuring the district to say, we need to get this information. So some of that is out of our hands, and I don't know if it's going to be populated into like say Schoology. I know in Schoology you can see your students' scores, but to see the actual report card, I don't know if that gets populated into Schoology but I think it would probably also come up in the parent portal. So that's another way to check, and potentially you can then print your own. So more information on that is coming. If it's not on the parent portal, we are looking into that. Mr. Chair, I need to find out, because that's coming up. Let's see, another questions. Is there a list of schools that provide busing? Magnet schools provide busing. Only magnet schools provide busing. If you're applying to a non-magnet school, you have to provide your own budget. Okay. Being in GATE, how does that apply? Like being in the magnet program, it means that you have your matriculation points. You have 12 points that you can, so you can apply to a magnet program and you're basically have a high level of points. That's if you're already in the magnet program, you can apply to a continued magnet program and you get 12 matriculation points for doing so. So that puts you pretty high on the list. And then at that point, it's just depending on where you're going, like LACES, so many people do apply. Even having full points, it still becomes a bit of a lottery as to whether you get in or not. And yeah, so wondering if we could post on. Yeah, Miss Jones is asking some follow-up regarding report cards, and yeah, we hope to find out before the end of next week, because I know our 3rd grade magnet is starting their parent conferences next week, and I know some other people are, so we need to find out pretty soon. So that information will be forthcoming. Teachers will get that to you as soon as we have it. Okay. SBAC scores should be on the parent portal. How do charter schools differ from other public schools? Charter schools by nature, they are a public school, so they are publicly funded. They follow their own charter, meaning they can set up their own rules and kind of guidelines for like the theme of their school, how things are set up. And so every charter school, it's kind of like a private school, but it's still a public school. It's part of why there's some controversy with our union and whatnot, because they can take public funds, but then they dictate for themselves their rules about who they accept or don't accept. So you're going to have to reach out to the specific charter school you're interested in to find out their admission criteria. And I would recommend, if you didn't all of you already get, now I printed it out, but this year's middle school guide has been sent out, it's been posted, it's on, the teachers have sent it out, but it's also on our school website that you can download. Has tons of information about a bunch of the different middle schools and all that. If you haven't already known about this, definitely need to get that. What if you don't have points? Which schools would be off our list? That's a great question, and each school is different. A program like the Science Academy, which is a magnet, a highly impacted magnet, if you were trying to get into that, the score on the test is I think more critical than the amount of points. So I would call them and ask if you were, for example, on that program. IHP is not a magnet. It does not require any points. So you can apply to the IHP and you need to follow their criteria. They have a test you have to take. Again, I haven't got information on that. They have teacher recommendations. So if you're looking for, like, say, LACES is a magnet program, a really great program, at least in high school. The middle school, because they actually pull 1/3 of their 6th grade body comes from their feeder school, and the location where they're at, their feeder school tends to be a little low performing. So a lot of our Wonderland students who do go to magnet or do go to LACES end up testing into like 6th, 7th grade math or even language because of where they're at. But to get in there, again, it is about points, and then even the lottery. A lot of people are trying to get in, but they do go until 12th grade. So if that is an option, you can continue to apply to that school, each year. Some families who do like LACES because it's a 6th through 12th grade, you get in and you're done. You can stay there. And their high school program is fantastic. It is one of the best high school programs in the district. It's really good. A benefit of being a 6 through 12 is you have a lot of things to offer for the whole community, the extracurricular stuff, the clubs, the sports, and you also have challenges like students who are doing well Like they will take a kind of a placement test when they get in. And if they place high enough to go to seventh grade math instead of sixth grade, they'll go into a seventh grade math class. But they're also with seventh graders. Keep that in mind. They're also with those students. So it can be a great challenge for those who are ready. I've also had families who had very smart and bright, but petite girls. And they're like, I don't want my daughter in those classes with those big seventh or eighth graders, even though mentally she can compete. I would rather not put that together. And so for the same reason, it's a flip of the coin. But it is a fairly well-rounded program. But also, like I said, at the middle school is okay. It's not necessarily the greatest program, but again, you get through the middle school to go to enjoy the high school. Of course, you can also do what some people have done. They'll go somewhere else for middle school and then apply for high school to go to LACES. So you can, like I said, because it's a 6th through 12th, you can apply each year to that. And I would reach out to that program, reach out to them if you have some more questions about LACES specifically. Okay, let's see, what else? What was a binder we're just holding up? I made this binder. This is the Wonderland Middle School Resource Book that we update each year. This document, I know I emailed it out to the teachers, and hopefully they posted it maybe on their either Schoology page or their Shutterfly. It's also on our Wonderland website. It has, because middle school's been having tours and other stuff, all that information, contact, all that is in here. About so many, lots that just been gathered. Let's see. What's some other questions? How does King Magnet work? I'm not sure what you mean by that, Rachel. If you could kind of explain a little bit more. What are the top middle schools Wonderland kids go to, though? LACES, Walter Reed, Science Academy, or Millikan. Those are basically the top 4. You can also go to our, actually, there is in this middle school resource book, on the 5th page, it ranks the middle schools based on how many Wonderland students have gone there. So you can check out that and get your answer right there. And so you can see Walter Reed had 26 out of our students from last year, from the class of 2020. 26 went to Walter Reed, and it's all programs, not just IHP. The Science Academy had 17 of our students. Gala, which is the Girls Academic Leadership Academy, they had 10. Then Millikan, and then we end up with the Wesley School this year. Interesting, 6. And then LACES with 4. Thomas Starr King had 4. Immaculate Heart, Laurel Hall, Portola, we had 2. Esla had 2. So that's an example of some of that information. There's also a matriculation list. If you go onto our school website, there's a list of, so you can see where everybody went from last year. Let's see. Some other questions.
Oh, sorry. In terms of the question of how does the King Magnet work, I meant in terms of like the application process and stuff. Like if we're in the magnet and we have points,
yep,
does that automatically carry over? Do we have to apply?
So you will apply, and you'll have the 12 matriculation points. So you will have 12 points because if you're in a magnet program already, and you're matriculating from a magnet program and going into a magnet program, you will have 12 points. So it's not like you're starting all over again, but you do need to go through the choices application on echoices.lausd.net. In fact, let me put that, I'll just put that really quickly. Oh, no, that's not what I wanted. echoices.la. It always wants to correct me. echoices.lausd.net. That website will give you to the application, And so any magnet program, you can, even for middle schools or for high schools, you can also apply. So you would apply for Thomas Starr King in the same manner as you did for Wonderland, because it is their magnet program is available as a choice. Okay, did that answer your question?
Yeah, no, I was wondering if they also, you had mentioned like additional testing or grades, or like, is there other criteria that?
Not, no. So the Science Academy, it has their special test, and IHP is not a magnet. So they have their own system. The rest of them it's just the magnet application. It's just the magnet application. If they are a gifted magnet, though, you do need to, now if you're already in a gifted magnet, then you should be fine. I mean, that's, you're in a gifted magnet. If you're going from one gifted magnet to another gifted magnet, I believe that's fine. I know for people trying to get into our Wonderland gifted magnet, you do have to show eligibility. And I would think that being in a gifted magnet would mean you could carry that on. And so maybe that was your question, but other than that, there isn't necessarily another test, so you would just be able to apply. Now they might not have, they only have so many spots, so depending on how impacted the program is, may determine if you get in or not. Okay.
Mr. Earl,
Yeah.
this is Dina. I have a question. So I received that email from the Science Academy regarding the new criteria versus having to take a test. And it says that they will pull that information. We don't need to send it. Is that true?
Oh, then let me.
Somewhere on the email, it says there's no need to submit this information. I think it's toward the bottom.
So can I answer that question? If
Go
you don't
for
mind
it.
me to?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I had a lot of parents ask me, so I kind of call them and talk to them. Yes, you don't have to send anything because LAUSD, so they're LAUSD too. So they're gonna put in all your information.
Okay, thank you, Jennifer. That's what the email made it sound like, but I just want to make sure I don't miss something.
Yeah, so you don't need to send anything.
Great. So chances are, if your school is asking for a report card, if you're applying to an LA Unified, they're gonna have that information. But if you're applying to potentially a charter or a private school, and I believe Mr. Diamond, were you making copies for a private school or a charter school?
That was a private school, yes.
So at that point, that's where you might need copies of those grades or reports. Let's see. So the question of if you can't find the report cards on parent portal, again, if you're applying to an LA Unified school, you shouldn't need to submit anything. It should already be basically attached to the student within the system. If you need a copy of a report card because you're applying to a charter school or a private school, if we can't access that via parent portal, please let your teacher know, and we can make copies of the report card that we have in the office. And Miss Jennifer can help with that as well. Okay.
Yeah, so a few parents, they call to school and ask for that. And then I think it's that they called the LAUSD main office and they say, oh, we did not put up the report card or aspect test, but it's wrong. They supposed to upload it. So Veronica Rio, she requested and she got the ticket. So they're gonna figure it out how they're gonna upload all the report card and all the test score and everything. So yeah, they're supposed to have that everything in parents portal, but we don't put it up, but they're the one who have to do it.
Meaning the district.
I'm sorry, district has to.
You're applying to, not Wonderland. The district has that information and it has. Okay. And Jennifer had made a mention for the bus. Again, if they are in LA Unified, if they're a magnet, the magnet will provide transportation. Can you compare Milliken to Walter Reed? Good question. I would say one of the things that is really hard to do this year, and so much of what we would talk to our parents and families about, is being able to go on campus and to see it and to get a feel for it and to take your child there, to see what life is like, because honestly, the family logistics, what's easier for your family? Where is it located? If you live in the valley, Laces is really hard to get to. It might not be a good choice, even though it's an excellent program, right? And vice versa. So logistics is super important. Our Wonderland students, if they do well in our program, they're going to do well anywhere. So you don't need to say, well, is there going to do well in what? They're going to do well anywhere. So it comes back to, what is your child interested in? Where are their strengths? If they're really strong in the science and math and really interested in what the Science Academy has to offer, that program is more unique than anything else that the district has. And they're going to push and challenge your child in ways that other schools can't. Now, they also do have a really good language arts, and they do still have high scores across the board, but they have a heavy focus and push in this science and math. The IHP, on the other hand, is a little more kind of well-rounded, okay? And they do give more time for creative arts and the writing and language, as opposed to being a little more heavy-handed. Science Academy is a little more lopsided, and it's intense, okay? That doesn't mean that IHP is less rigorous. It's just a different set. Millikan is not going to be as hard, but Millikan is also a larger school. So it's got a different feel, and that's part of why they have their different academies. And so the Math Academy is a good program. The Performing Arts is a good program. And I think they also have cinematic arts there as well. So those can be great options. Again, I think the Performing Arts, they do have a magnet there, but they also have other academies. So depending on what you're interested in, you might be able to get transportation to Millikan or not. So the academies don't provide transportation, only the magnet programs. So be thoughtful about.
Yeah, I'm close to both of those. You keep mentioning Laces, but I am in the Valley. And I know somebody who goes to SOSAS. Do you know anything about that, comparing it to Laces Middle School? I came in like right when you were talking about Laces Middle School, saying it was just okay.
I know SOSAS is a 4th through 12th. So it's an odd, I actually reached out to them to try to come to our Meet the Middle Schools event, and they were like, no, thanks. We're there. Like they weren't very friendly. I don't know many Wonderland students who have gone there. So unfortunately, I don't have a lot of information specifically about that program. But I do also know, I will say, if you are interested in Laces, at least in the past, if you got to Laces, there was a bus stop at Wonderland. So you could, if you lived in the Valley, but you could bring your kid to Wonderland, like that could be your bus stop, and then they would ride the bus to and from and whatnot. So just that as an option. Candace, I don't know if that helped a little bit, begun Millikan and Walter Reed and SOSAS. Okay.
Thank
Great.
you.
The Science Academy have 2 different math levels. Maybe Jennifer knows a little bit about the
Yeah, so when they get into the school, they have a like math level test. So they're gonna decide pre-algebra or algebra. So they skip 6th grade math already. So when you took the entrance exam, and then when you get into the school, they're gonna have a test which is pre-algebra and 2 algebra. And I believe like only 20% they pass the test and have algebra, but even the 20% they skip 2 math and they're having a hard time. So, well, for myself, this is my personal idea. I don't recommend it to pass a 2 math. Yeah, just skipping 6th grade math, yeah, it should be fine. But skipping 6th grade math and pre-algebra, I don't know. But yes, they do have a test, and only like 20 to 30% of kids they do pass that, and they are taking a algebra 1 when they're 6th grader.
Definitely. I know Nicole offered to share a little bit about the math program at Millikan, because her son is going there right now. Nicole, do you want to say anything about the math program?
Sure. I mean, we're very happy there. I mean, Dash was not in Magnet, but one of his best friends was in Magnet. Leo, who went, and they went sort of together. It was them two, and Graham went, and I we really like it. I mean, we find the math challenging, but not ridiculous. Obviously, he had to sort of catch up because the Magnet is much farther ahead than the homeschool, but for the most part, he's caught up. And at Milliken's a huge school, but the Math Academy works very insularly. There's 30 kids in each class, so there's 60 kids in each grade, and these two classes travel together and do all of their stuff together individually. So they take all the same classes. So they're all advanced classes, or I forget the other word for it, but Excel or whatever that word is. And they stick together, so they're not mixing in with the rest of the school, except for PE. And then, no holds barred. But then, and then their elective has to be music. So, and it has to be like a stringed or wind instrument. So that's the Math Academy, but they go on a field trip together. They're very close, and it's a very warm, snuggly environment within a big school.
Snuggly. So if you want snuggly, check out Milliken Math. I like that. That would be a good slogan.
Yeah, my two kids, they went to Math Academy.
They did.
They're both in college. One actually graduated Berkeley. The other one in Berkeley, and he's junior.
There you go.
And her major was applied math.
Right? Crazy.
Yep.
I taught both of her kids when they were in third grade. I'm not that old. Some other questions that I am seeing on the one was, how do I get to the middle school resource book again? Well, let me, if you will, if you bear with me, what I would like to do is share my screen so you can see. If you go to our Wonderland School website, underneath parent information, right down here. So you have the class of 2020 graduates. You can get a list, see where students went last year. But right there, clicking on this, you will be able to download the middle school resource book. So that's how you can access the book that I was referring to. Again, middle schools are having virtual tours, and there's lots of stuff that's going on. So some of it's already passed already, but you got to get in on that, like right now, in a sense, to check on the middle schools that you're interested in, because because they can't have tours in person, you need to try to get in on those virtual tours to get a little bit of a sense, find out some more information. But it kind of comes down to that in a lot of ways. What personally do you end up liking? I've had fifth grade students who could go do well anywhere, but there's like, oh, I really liked how it felt at Milliken, or I didn't like IHP and Laces, or vice versa, right? You're gonna have a different feel, and honestly, sometimes it comes down to, where's your child's friends going to? Should that count? Should you think about that? Absolutely. Absolutely. Our Wonderland students are really well prepared for all of these middle schools. If you're trying to decide between one or the other, should you give some weight to where their friends are going? I would give some weight to that. So consider that, because middle school is already tough. It's a tough time period. So try to make some of that social part a little bit easier. The academics can be tough, but giving them that opportunity sometimes to be with their friends. So if you're weighing a couple different programs, that is something to consider. Do you have to live, if you're in a magnet? I do not believe you have to live in Los Angeles to go to a magnet program. I think you can apply to it and get in. I'm not sure how the transportation on that would work, if they would drive, say, to Glendale, but obviously people live all over LA, and Glendale's just outside. So Jennifer, do you know any information? Have you ever had that question specifically come up?
Like inter permit?
Well, that would be the question. Is that what it would be?
Yeah. Okay, so
Like what if they get in, and then while they're a student there, they move to Glendale? Can they continue going there?
Yeah, that's what we call the inter permit. So yes, you could, but the transportation is not going to go to Glendale.
Okay,
So so they look at I think the how many people in that school in the area. So they're the one who make the stop. So
Right.
it could be close, it could be far. So
Is it hard to get a permit that we're just sort of, we want to buy a house and we're just trying to figure out like, do we have to be within LAUSD? Like if we went to say Glendale, then you have to go to the school system in Glendale? Does it work that
yeah,
way? Or-
that's called the inter permit. So I have to read it. It's in the choices in the brochure. They explain very well. So yeah, you call the inter permit. So you could apply for it, but you have to prove it from LAUSD or Glendale Unified School District.
so check that, the choices brochure again, and you can get that from echoices.lausd.net website. Is Milliken a gifted magnet? No, Milliken is not a gifted magnet. The performing arts is a performing arts magnet, but it is not a gifted magnet. And the academies are, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, Jennifer, but it's just the performing arts magnet that's a magnet there. Everything else is.
Yes, performing art is a magnet, and they do have a magnet. I mean, the Performing Art Academy. That is, you have to take the test to get in, as well as a Math Academy too. Those two you have to take the test.
They also have the SAGE
Yes.
under the
Yes.
SAGE program too.
Yep.
I actually was on a virtual tour with them today, and they do have honors in their magnet program.
Yes, yes. A lot of places will have honors, but the magnet itself might not be a gifted magnet.
Okay.
So I know it like at Walter Reed, they also have honors that's outside of the IHP program. And we hear all the time though, families who like Walter Reed, they're interested in the IHP program, but maybe they didn't qualify. So then they go to like the humanities, which is another popular choice, and get into the honors in the humanities. And their child does great. They're enjoying their friends, the teachers, and then sometimes spots will open up in the IHP, and it's like, you know what? I'm enjoying this program. Why go to this right now? It's not. I'm still gonna be successful here, and being successful at any of these programs will still help you to get into, the high schools that you're interested in. So just realize, Wonderland is kind of the top of the heap for elementary. There's a number of good elementary schools. The number of good middle schools drops dramatically, which means more people are applying to them, which is why it's hard to get in, which is why there's all these hoops to go through. The amount of good high school programs also drops. So again, there are excellent programs that are available, but it does take some work and just kind of being aware, and to some extent thinking the long term where you might want to head for high school. Again, if you're thinking about, if you live in the city and you like the idea of being at Laces, I mean, if you get in at 6th grade, then you're done, set and done. But if you're looking at other schools, if you're looking at, the Valley has some good programs, but you have to be a little more particular. So, and the Science Academy now does go all the way through 12th grade. So if you got into the Science Academy, same thing, you could potentially stay there, which is nice because then you're all set, if that's what you want to do. If we don't get into a magnet, can we do SAS, and how do we do that? Short answer is yes, and I believe there's if what I recall, and I forget if they've changed it recently. Jennifer, maybe check me if I'm wrong. You'll find out in March about your magnet choices, and usually in spring is when the follow through on the SAS comes in. So I know that I would have, come March, like students would start get into their magnet choice. So then I would start getting a lot of these forms we had to fill out for the SAS.
Okay, that was 2 years ago.
2 years ago, okay.
Yeah, so right now they combine that together. So when you apply choices, you
Yeah.
could also apply SAS.
Okay, so doing it.
So yeah, so you could apply everything together. For the magnet, you could apply up to 3. SAS, you could apply many as you want.
Ah,
Yeah, so that's why virtually they kind of restrict it. So in virtually they have many different programs. So parents usually apply everything like 4 or 5 program. I think they restrict, they could only apply up to 2 programs for SAS. Okay, and IHP is all different stuff. So if you want to apply IHP, you need to apply, IHP is under SAS, it's like umbrella. So you need to apply SAS, IHP, and then you need to go back to IHP application and you have to fill it out. But first, if you want to apply IHP, you need to apply IHP SAS first.
okay. I got a couple, thank you, Jennifer. A couple questions about King, Thomas Starr King, which is over in Echo Park, I believe, or Silver Lake, is definitely kind of an up and coming. Just based on our location, we haven't had a lot of one-on-one students who go there, but those who have reported good things. They enjoy it. They enjoy the opportunities that are there. They like the environment, especially in their gifted programs. Now they do have their middle school is also, you know, from their local students there too. So, you know, some of their, you know, you get a wide variety of students who are there in that community. It is definitely a good alternative, especially like their film program, I think is also pretty good. I don't know if outside of what's outside of that flyer, and I don't know if they have any more, I know, live virtual tours. I'm not sure what they're offering. I know that even when we had our Meet the Middle Schools event, they sent me a video to share. They weren't able to join. So you'd have to ask them specifically, and that's kind of where it comes back to, please make sure to go check out the schools that you're interested in, check out their websites. That's especially since we can't do any live tours, you really want to spend that other time. Does SAS stand for the same? IHP and SAS are different. SAS is Schools for Advanced Studies, and IHP is Individualized Honors Program, and it's actually the oldest honors program in the district, which is part of why it's still around and kind of follows its own rules. So it's a separate than the SAS program, and it's not a magnet. So if you're interested in the IHP, you have to look specifically at their requirements. So going to their website and checking that out is what you need. But it's a very well regarded program. Students who are gifted do well there, and often students who are highly gifted, that's a great stepping stone to North Hollywood highly gifted magnet, which is also a great high school that is right there in the valley as well. But that program, you must be highly gifted in order to get in. So it doesn't apply to not everyone is able to apply. Thomas Starr, so I talked to, so some of you, so we got Elizabeth Simmons and Charles and Rachel all asked about King. I hope that what I shared kind of helped with that. Did you say the January 13th admission will be online for Science Academy? My understanding, yes, it's going to be an online test, correct, Jennifer, for Science Academy?
Yes, that's what they said. And then they have an interview. After they pass the test, they have a Zoom interview with the kids.
Yeah. Okay. Charles, you asked about Emerson. I'll be honest and say I don't know anything about Emerson. It's not a program that many of our students have gone to. So I haven't heard negative or positive about it. So I guess if you find out anything, please let us know. Let's see if there's any other. So that was kind of got through the questions in the chat. Again, if I haven't answered anything, get that question in the chat. Let's see if there's any other questions on what I pulled from the website. Talked about charter schools. We need to send in necessary documents. If you're applying to an LA Unified school, they should have access to those documents. You don't have to send anything. Are gifted students given priority? That's a great question, and it depends on the program. More importantly, like for example, IHP, yes. But they're not a magnet and they're not the SAS, so they kind of have their own criteria. Science Academy, you need to pass their test. So if you are gifted already and you already qualified, then you don't have to take the test. So that might be a good thing, I guess. Otherwise, does gifted give you priority in like getting points? No, no. It just helps you verify if you're not already in the magnet. Being tested gifted allows you to apply to a magnet, to a gifted magnet. Okay. IHP, Science Academy, or Portola. Okay, Portola, some of you might have heard, is a highly gifted middle school program. And so students, you have to have already been tested as highly gifted to go there. They have that program. I think Eagle Rock also has a highly gifted program. And we don't have a lot of kids who go to those programs, but those that do have said positive things. So since we have less students who go there, I don't have a lot to say about Portola. It's an Encino. So a lot of times the logistics of trying to get to Encino can be a little problematic for families. I've mentioned, so Jennifer, you mentioned that some of the Millikan academies have tests. Are those just placement tests or?
No. Math Academy has an entrance exam test, and the performing art, I think they have to send a video. Yeah, portfolio. They need to make a video or whatever, and they have to send it to them. Only those two academy.
Okay.
And science was there, but science came out as a magnet, so only two.
Yes, if you guys didn't know, Science Academy originally was an academy at Millikan, and they just kind of grew too big for their britches, and they wanted to become their own school as a magnet school, and now they are on the site of the East Valley High School in North Hollywood. Which schools seem to handle kids with IEPs best? Oh, that is an excellent question. And one that's going to be very personal. So I don't, each middle school, that was going to be something I would talk to people at the schools that you're interested in. I would definitely reach out to them. I can't give you something that's kind of a really personal question because each school is supposed to be able to provide the appropriate legal accommodations, all of those things. So whatever has been provided for your child here should carry on. But also within that IEP, looking at going to middle school provides its own challenges. So that those can be very specific. So I know Miss Quinn can be helpful here at school to, looking at what kind of accommodations or things do need to be carried over. And then I would reach out to the schools that you're interested in. Again, the contact information for like all of these middle schools can either be found in the Choices brochure or in the Wonderland Middle School resource book that we have posted. For applying for IHP, do we need to do anything now for the magnet application for Walter Reed in particular? I believe the IHP application window is same as, it's not a Choices, but it is I think they have a similar window. Would you agree, Jennifer?
Yeah, IHP window is already open. So you have to go check in the IHP, the World Trade website. For order to do IHP, you need to apply Reed Middle School SAS.
Okay.
And then IHP itself is open already. So you could go online and you could print out, and they're the one asking all the report card and like aspect tests and gifted tests, papers, all that. But I don't know, they're part of LA University, but I don't know why they're asking for that, but they are still asking for that. So parents calling school to, ask for, I don't have a gift paper, but gift paper, orange paper They don't need it actually because they do indicate in their report card whether they're gifted or not. But well, IHB is asking for their like gift verification paper. So, well, that's their policy. So,
Which
yeah.
is also in the system.
Yeah, it's all in the system, and also it's on the report card too. It's on the back of the report card, and they do have their gifted, highly gifted, and art gifted, visual gifted. They indicated that, but they want a orange paper to submit it, verification paper. Yeah, so.
Couple other questions in the chat. Does Thomas Star King provide busing? Their magnet program does. Their whole school is not a magnet school though. So yeah, but if you're applying to get in, so any magnet program, magnet is kind of required by law to provide transportation free of charge. So if you're getting into a magnet program, you can get transportation. So, but if you are applying to an academy or an SAS, then you aren't getting into a magnet. So you need to be able to get into a magnet if you need transportation. That's why, like I said, the logistics, the family logistics can often be a really critical piece in all of this. What makes sense for you and your family with where you can go to. If your child is gifted, so Jennifer, if your child for Science Academy, if they're already gifted, they don't have to take the test, correct?
Oh, no, they have a 4-5 criteria.
Right.
Number one, they have to be gifted. And number two, and fourth grader report card, last report card, and the fifth grader first report card has to be straightforward in math, English, social study, and science. And then they have to be gifted, and then aspect test has to be all advanced. So those all four criteria meet, then they don't have to take the test.
Do they have to take the do the interview?
No, they don't need to do anything.
Got it.
Yeah, but if you're only a kid, I mean, you are only have a gift paper, that doesn't mean that you wait for the test. Yeah, but if you're fourth grader, if you have English, you have a 3, you have to take the test and the interview.
Okay. Again, question was about LACES. The middle school, some of it's the resources, some of it, LACES is actually an older school. But more importantly, the biggest thing that kind of makes the middle school just kind of okay is a third of their 6th grade student body comes from their local feeder, which are lower performing. So you just have a third of that group that means that the teachers are trying to work with those students. So now they're not, it's not as rigorous a program, which can be great for students who've done okay at Wonderland, because like we've had students who have done like just okay, and they get into LACES, and then they end up doing really well. And they feel great, and it helps them to be more successful and build into high school, and they have a great time. And so it can be fantastic. In that same sense, students who want some of that challenge, if you're testing and you're doing really well in math and you're getting into that 7th grade math or that algebra, then you're going to be put into those classes. So it gives you those opportunities. But what we hear from parents who come back, from students who come back, is that the middle school program there is just, it's okay. It's not, it's not great. It might be a little somewhat easy for some of our Wonderland students. But it's more, once they get into the high school, more things are offered, more it just is a better, more well-rounded program to help them do well. So that's kind of part of what was there. Let's see, is it possible to have a time for graduates? That's a great question, to have graduates come and talk. The hard part is just, being able to provide, trying to get graduates and whatnot. I would say in the past, when we had to meet the middle schools, that sometimes we've had like the middle schools themselves, when we've had the meet the middle schools on campus, sometimes the middle schools themselves would bring Wonderland graduates who would help promote their school at that point. Obviously this year being virtual, it's a little bit different. So for this year, I can't say that that's really going to be an option, but it is something we can potentially look into, but I can't promise anything right now. IHP, Individualized Honors Program. SAS is the Schools for Advanced Studies. And a lot of the SAS programs are thematic. So you want to look at what those options are. They are listed in the choices brochure. And of course, if you go to the middle school's websites, you'll get that information. Okay. All right. Well, it's just about 3 o'clock. I know it's been an hour. Not that we have to necessarily cut you off, but I kind of want to say, hey, if you've got any other questions right now, let's put them in the chat, or raise a virtual hand. I see Norma's virtual hand. So Norma, if you have a question, go for it. You can unmute yourself and ask your question. Is it not working?
Sorry, that was an accident. I didn't mean to raise my hand.
Good. Okay, got it. All right, I love it. Anybody else? Teachers, if you have any questions at all, anything you want to say, or you're just like, this is great, I love it.
No, that was wonderful. Thank you, Zach, so much for providing this information for us and answering these questions, because I feel like it's going to be really helpful, especially as we get into parent-teacher conferences.
Good. And that is kind of thing, obviously, the teachers, know your child, and will can potentially give you some information, but that hopefully this helped. That being said, I'm still here available. If you have questions, feel free to email me. I will put my email in the chat if you have other questions that come up. And of course, you can reach out to your teachers. Miss Jennifer is a wealth of knowledge and is super helpful as well. And again, I thank her for joining us this afternoon as well. She has been in that position for many years, so she's got it down, and she knows all of these schools almost by the back of her head. So she does a great job. So with that, I guess I'm going to, if I'm not seeing any other virtual hands, I'm not seeing any other questions come up. So I'll give another 10 seconds.
I just want to also thank Jennifer as well. You're wonderful, and you're also so helpful. This was great. Thanks so much.
Anytime, if you have a question, you can reach me out. I'm at school all the time, so call me, ask me a question. I could give you what I know.
Awesome. All right. Well, again, thank you so much. Like I said, I have been recording this, so those many parents who weren't able to join, or if you're like, what was that again? I will post this. It will get posted onto it'll be a video that'll get posted, and I'll send a link to the teachers and they can share it, so you can look at it again, or we can share it out with the other people. So, all right. Thank you so much. Have a great afternoon. Happy Wednesday. And I'll see you guys later.
Thank you. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, Zach. Thank you, Jennifer.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Right. I will. You're just waiting to be the end, Wes?
First
Right.
one in, last one out.
Were you the first one? I don't know if you were.
No, probably not.
All right. Well, I'm going to go ahead and end it unless you got anything.
All right. Nope, that's it. Thank you. See you
All right.
later.
Bye.
Bye.